Well, good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I'm Rochelle Levan, the Landscape Success Program Chair with the Fort Bend County Master Gardeners. Thank you for joining us for the Landscape Success Online Program. This program was created by the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service in Fort Bend County, along with the Fort Bend County Master Gardeners, to help you create and maintain beautiful home landscapings. We've got a great program lined up for you today: shade gardening, ideas, and tips. All registrants of this class will receive a follow-up email with a recording of the class, as well as all links to websites or resources our presenter may refer to. A QR code will also be included in the follow-up email, as well as at the end of the presentation. Please be sure to fill out the survey, as we do use the feedback to prepare and improve future classes. Also, if you have any questions during the class, please enter them in the group chat. Questions will be answered during the presentation or at the end of the class. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming our presenter, Fort Bend Master County Gardener, Suma Mudon. You are very lucky to have a class with her. She's amazing. Suma is a passionate gardener. She moved from the East Coast and became a master gardener to learn about Southern gardening. She decided to quit her law practice to pursue her passions. Suma has been a master gardener for over 10 years and has advanced training in Texas superstar plants. Her passion also led her to become a garden designer, and she loves to find unique and native plants for her clients. Her other hobbies include world travel, sharing and educating about essential oils for health, teaching yoga for specific ailments, and pursuing all things beautiful for wellness. She believes in the adage, self-care is the best healthcare. We're excited to have you here today, Suma, so the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. It's been a pleasure over the years to talk about plants, because talking about plants is always fun, and it comes from the heart because we are all, most of us are plant nerds. So that's all we talk about. And thanks for all of you who have come to the classes in the past and are continuing to come to the classes now. And I was before the class started, I was telling Rochelle and Nancy, like, I have done this before. I don't know if people are bored. Then they said, no, there's always something new. And then I said, yeah, right, because every time I give the same talk, I do add new things, because my garden, like everybody's garden, keeps evolving, keeps changing. We find new things. So there's always something new to share. So thanks for coming today. And like Rochelle said, you can ask the questions in the chat while I'm talking, so that you won't forget. And then she can run them by me throughout the talk. And also at the end of the talk, you can unmute yourself and ask questions live if you have any. Okay, thanks. So Rachel already mentioned that this is a program of Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and we are very focused on extending free community education. We have two programs. One is this Landscape Success, the other one is Grow Your Own. And through these two programs, we arm the homeowners to develop beautiful gardens. And that is my dog, as usual. So you will learn all the basic steps and uh, get to enjoy your gardens, healthy gardens. For any gardening, whether it is shade or sun. So to garden in sun is very easy most of the time, but gardening in shade is a little trickier. And I will share my experience with my own garden. But the basic principles are the same. So for shade gardening also, the first step we need to think about, work on is soil. So it has to be a nice, healthy soil. And because in Fort Bend County, we all have heavy clay soils, which is very compacted. So I always advise people, and I took the same advice, to build raised beds. So that will give plants a head start for the roots, and then they will find their way into the clay. So build a raised bed even for your shade gardens. And it's especially important because of the trees that we have in the front or back, wherever the shade is. The shade is there because of the trees. And the homeowners association and the builders have certain regulations that they have to plant so many trees every 50 feet or so, and we cannot escape from that. If you have a big yard, it's welcome to have shade trees because you do want to have these various rooms in your garden. So you can do a shade room. But when you are doing shade gardening, because of the trees, because of the roots, it's important to provide that raised bed with good soil so the plants will have enough space to spread out. And then the water. Water again is the next most important thing. It is since it is shade, the water will not evaporate as much as we do it does in the sun. So probably you can adjust your watering systems to water less frequently and a little deeper, or more frequently for less time. Or the best one is to do a drip irrigation if that is possible for you. And the next one is compost and mulch. So compost, of course, is one of the bestest things we can do for our soil, either it is homemade or store-bought. So if you have a big yard or if you're starting off, it's better for you to buy compost and mulch in bulk in yards rather than buying the bagged one. So the only problem I see with bagged one is, of course, there's a convenience of being able to bring the bags and doing it by yourself little by little, because if you get a yard of mulch or some compost and it's dumped in your driveway, you have to move it sooner or later. So but the downside of bagged mulch or compost is that you don't know how long it's sitting in the bag. So open compost and mulch or soil hills, you can go there and check, and you can smell, and you can see if there is any fungus, because now is the season, so everything moves fast, and these are more fresh than the bagged ones. So keep that in mind. And mulch is very important because it will save us on watering, since it retains moisture. And also when it comes to mulch, my basic recommendation is to go with native hardwood mulch. And if there are any plants that like acidic atmosphere, then you can do pine needles or pine bark or things like that. I don't recommend colored mulch just because of the dyes they use and the chemicals that leach into the soil. So fertilizing. Food is extremely important for us and for the plants, and we need to feed them most of the times. If you are using like store-bought bagged soil, it may already have fertilizer in it. But if you're using like bulk soil, you may want to include some fertilizer when you plant your plants. And then as the season keeps going, you may want to supplement it with one or more applications. Now we are talking about shade. So there are various levels of shade. We'll go through these levels and see what you have, and then how to garden in that particular type of shade. So there are three main types: deep shade, medium shade, and open shade. I don't think any of us will have deep shade. Deep shade is when you walk into a forest, there is dense canopy, nothing is coming through the branches. So that is deep shade. In our neighborhoods, I don't think we will have deep shade. So probably we have mostly medium or filtered shade, and sometimes we have open shade. We'll talk about this. So like I said, this is the deep shade, and it is like dense trees. Unless you are in woodlands area, I don't think we need to deal with this. When it is really deep shade, I don't know if any of you are into hiking or outdoors. So when you go for a hike into the forests, you see growth on the trees, like ferns, they love the deep shade and the humidity and the moisture. And also you'll see a lot of ground covers in deep shade. I'll talk about medium shade. Yeah. So when if it, most of us have medium shade. Medium shade is, of course, we have the oak trees, and the sun filters through the branches. And it is a good practice to thin the branches once in a while, and also to make sure that the branches are not falling, are not too close to the roof, or they're not too low on the sidewalk. So you may want to prune the trees maybe once every season. But I don't advise you to prune them heavily in summer, because then you will have too much sun in the front yard or wherever it is. So thin the branches a little bit, so there is enough air and there's not in like chance of fungus, and we get the filtered shade for our yards. Um, you will see a lot of the usual suspects in this talk, because there most of us think there's only so much we can do for shade, but you will be surprised with the plants that I'm going to introduce later that will do very well in shade. So impatiens, begonias, not coleus, caladiums, hostas, these are all like universally accepted to do well in part shade. But we will also talk about other things. So open shade is when there is like there is a tree, but there is an opening in the branch, so there is more sunlight coming in. So open shade. And then there is low light. So if you have a pergola and you have a vine going over the pergola, so there is shade, but then there is more shade, and maybe when you sit under the pergola, which is covered by these vines, there is very low light. So what plants can you grow on this? So for the plants on the pergola, it's fine because they are getting sun from the top. But if there is more like trees around the pergola, then you may have a challenge. So this is filtered sun. Let me go back. So these, for example, these are grapevines, right? And you have spaces between the pillars, between the posts. So the grapevines are not very dense. This is one way of doing it. It may be grape, it may be something else, but you can also prune the vines and keep them more well behaved. So what this does is it creates that filtered sun. So throughout the walkway or under the pergola or this place, there is like these gaps where you get the filtered sun from the top. And open shade. So open shade is like when you have an area where you get morning sun, and maybe by afternoon the sun becomes shade. And there are plants that thrive in that. And then there is dappled shade like clouds. So as the sun moves throughout the day, the shade keeps changing. So that is another type of shade. And again, west sun, when the sun is setting, there is more sun rather than east, depending on which side your house is facing. So the purpose of all these slides is to talk about how many different varieties of shades are there, how many kinds of shades are there, and what you can do with under these conditions. So there's also another thing. As the seasons change, the shade situation also changes. The same place which is very shady in summer may become really sunny in winters because we lost the leaves. So it's a deciduous tree. It's not an evergreen. So now you have open sun. And how can you plan for that? And then finally, there is a borrowed shade. Okay, you don't have any trees in your house, but then there is a neighbor's tree, which is like extending to your yard. And like then you have this dense shade because of the tree. And then you have to plan on what to do under that shade. if your neighbor is not willing to prune that branch, or of course, if the branch is coming close to your roof, like you see in this picture, you have every right to demand for the branch to be pruned because of our hurricanes and all. So the climate also compounds the issue for us, the shades, um, because some plants, like, for example, let me give you an example, like hostas, they do extremely well in full sun, but not here in Pennsylvania. So here, the same plant has to be put under part shade. So we need to take that into account because we have the intense heat of the Gulf Coast summer sun. I'll talk about Japanese maples later in the talk. So if you're not sure like how your plant is going to behave, if you are new to the plant or new to this process, leave the plant in a pot and keep moving it from place to place as the season progresses. Then you will see if the plant is burnt in July, you'll realize that there's too much sun, so I have to move the plant back into shade. There you go. So here you can see the hosta, too much sun, and the leaves got burnt. So this is not a good place for it. And then there is also there is so much you can do just with green. I wrote a blog called 50 Shades of Green and how you can create a garden just with leaves, no flowers. So you can create a lot of interest with one color by mixing the textures or the shape or the growth habit, a lot of things. And of course, the best time to pour over catalogs and gardening books is December, January, because we are so bored with the winter and we feel so depressed because our garden is not in full bloom. So that's when it's time for us to look at the gardening books and come up with a plan, learn about the habits of the plants, how they grow, where they grow, and what to do, and then come up with a list of plants that you want to try out in the next season. So again, the tip, I did do this. If the plant says full sun and if you plant it in part shade, I don't think you're losing much. Means you may not get like so many vibrant blooms. You may get little less blooms, but still the plant will do okay. Um, So, another challenge with shade is that since it is not sun, there's no bright light for you to notice the plant immediately. So it's shade. So in the shade, if the color is not noticeable, then it doesn't make any impact. So you may want to plant in clumps to make that impact. For example, if you are doing begonias or if you are doing impatiens, plant something that's bright like orange or red, and you can see that color from far as well as from near. And finally, brown is a color. Like I said, green is a color, gray is a color, brown is a color, green is a color. So gray, we can use rocks, and again, you will see that later in the talk. And brown, we can use mulch, and green, we can use so many different kinds of plants. Um, Sometimes it is like it is a very different way of gardening in the shade. So there are so many things you can do that will create a sense of coolness, a sense of peace, and sense of that restful look. Like you can create that woodland settings in shades. So shade is not necessarily bad. It's actually a great way to garden. So this is one example. Snoopy, stop it. So here the person has created interest with caladiums and coleus and dichondra. So you can do beautiful hanging gardens with just leaves. And of course, this is the most well beaten, well talked about plant combination for shade, impatiens and begonias. But look how vibrant they are. That light pink and the dark pink combination is good, and you can create a lot of interest in your shade garden with this. Again, we talked about hostas before, and I'll talk about them more. And like I mentioned, you can create interest with the leaf structures. So, if you just take hostas, there are so many different hues of green and double shades, and also the shapes of the leaves are so different. So you can make it beautiful by picking various things. The plant shape also use adds interest. Like if the plant is, you will see as we continue the talk, if the plant is bushy or if the plant is like a fountain, some grasses, they are so interesting. So it doesn't have to be with flowers all the time. You can create interest with just the plant shape. Okay, so any questions so far?
Suma, we did have a question regarding fungus being seen in mulch and compost. And is it harmful?
Yeah, means fungus, if most of the times the fungus is there because of the compacting of the mulch or the compost, especially if it is in bags. So if it is sitting for a long time, the fungus is there, and I would rather not use that because you want to start with a good compound. And sometimes like when you after you mulch your yard, you may see fungus, and that's a good thing because that means the biological action is happening. But I wouldn't start with something that already has fungus.
That is the only question we have so far.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll talk about a few different plants that we can use in shade. So this ageratum or floss flower, and remember, you can grow most of these plants from seeds. So if you want to get more bang for your buck, you can always start with seeds the season before. So suppose you want to have, most of the times the shade garden starts in summer, but sometimes you can also have blooming plants in shade or in the front garden in early spring. So there are a lot of bulbs that you can buy, and you can plant the fall before. So by the time you get to February, March, you already have something growing in in your shade garden. So that's very possible. So don't think that you have to buy all the plants, and use the catalogs, and make sure that the bulbs or the seeds or the plants are suitable for zone 9. So we are in zone 9. Even though it is shade, it's important. The problem is, the thing is, if it is zone 7, it's fine for the cold, but it's not fine for the heat. So if it is zone 9, it's fine for the heat. It will also be fine for the cold because it's protected, it's shaded. And unless the bottom number is really low, if it is really low, it's fine. If it is like 9 to 10, then you may have some problem when we get freezes. But otherwise, it's fine. So pay attention to what the growth habit is, what the how hardy the plant is both for cold and heat, and then experiment. Also, the other thing you want to keep in mind is when you're planning your gardens, whether it is front, back, or side, wherever it is, make sure that you are cognizant of the height of the plant. So most of the plants, okay, excuse me, I'm going to put my dog inside and come in a
everyone during this technical break. This is a great time to put more questions in the chat. Thank you for those you already have put in.
Sorry about that. And dogs
All
have the
good.
barking at the right time. Anything, Rachel?
Yes, we do have a question regarding how deep, and Linda Hernandez might need to unmute if I don't ask the question correctly, but how deep a raised bed to not damage trees?
Okay, so generally like 10 to 12 inches is fine. You can get away with 8 inches also if the things that you are planting are not very deep.
Okay, and then will bulbs flower in shade?
Yeah, they will. I'll talk about them a little later.
Okay, and can you distinguish between zone 9 and zone 9, like A, B?
Not really. We used to be zone 9B, now we are zone 9A, but I don't see much difference because the freezes are changing everything. It's not like if we are zone 9A, we are better. That means our plants will do better. Not really. So I don't see much difference. Unless you are one zone above or below, I don't see much difference.
Okay, and last question.
Well,
Are
gotta
the
get-
flowers
Okay.
mentioned, are these flowers mentioned flowers for summer gardens? Which,
No, these are a uh, mix of seasons, but let me say this. So if they bloom in spring or summer, they are still interesting plants in the shade garden. So it's not like they are interesting only if they are blooming. And you cannot have the plant bloom all the seasons. So you may want to pick plants that bloom in various seasons. So the plants I'm going to show you do have that habit of blooming in different seasons. So they are not all summer blooming.
right? And like Suma said, or like she mentioned, you want to have plants where you have interest all year long, even
Yeah.
conifers, right? Even winter interest. So
Yeah. Especially winter interest.
especially, I know I struggle. Okay, that's all. Thank you,
Okay,
Susan.
all right. And of course, begonias. Sorry because it keeps popping up since it is the easiest plant and also the easiest plant to add color. And begonias, they have a long blooming season. You plant in spring, they bloom through fall, mostly. So you just have to keep them tidy because in midsummer they may look dry or they may look brown. So give them a little slight haircut and fertilize them, and they'll pop up, they'll bloom again. And sometimes the begonias may come back after the freeze. So it depends. But they have a very long blooming cycle. And caladiums now start um, they will start soon. They are not here yet. So early summer, caladiums will start and they'll go through until winter. And caladiums have so many different colors, so many different combinations of colors. Who needs flowers when the leaves look like that? So you can add these caladiums in various combinations throughout your garden. And also most of the times the caladiums will come back next year. And they are tubers, so you can get them cheap in any of the big box stores, or most of the garden clubs have sales of caladium bulbs. So it's a easy way to add color to your gardens. And of course, coleus are so versatile. There are full sun coleus, which are called sun coleus, and then there are shade coleus. So any coleus will appreciate some shade in really peak summer. And even if it seems like it is dead, try to cut it down and mulch it, and it will revive for the fall. And also, the other very interesting thing about coleus is that it's so easy to propagate. You just snip off a branch and put it in water. In 3 days, you will see roots. And it's so easy. And in winter, before the cool weather comes in, snip off a few branches of your favorite coleus and put them in water, and then plant them in a pot and keep them inside. So you'll have a head start for next year. So it's very, very easy to prolong the life of coleus by doing these few little things. And again, just like caladium, coleus have so many different colors and so many different combinations, so you can create a lot of interest. And most of the times we have too much green in our gardens, either it is front or back or side, and you want to break that green, so add these deep colors of coleus, so that will really pop the color, and it'll create that contrast, and it'll be so beautiful. So columbine is a Texas superstar plant, and I never used to see it much in nurseries, but now I see it very often. You can see it in places like Enchanted Forest or Enchanted Garden, and sometimes in Houston Garden Centers, and a lot of times in Home Depot and Lowe's. So columbines are a very beautiful shade plants. The thing about columbines are they're not dense. So if you want to create that impact, you have to plant a few plants together. They come in different colors, yellow and this blue and white and double colors. So keep adding to your columbine collection, and it's a perennial. So it's a Texas superstar plant. That means it will do well in your gardens for many, many years. So invest in some columbines and it will reward you for many years. So indigofera is not very popular. You will find it in nurseries, and this is a perennial. This will keep coming every year, and the flowers are very dainty. They are this pale pink, so it will make an impact in shade gardens. And the leaves are like very ferny, like fern-like, and they will also come back every year. And of course, if you want the tropical look, there's nothing like elephant ears. Again, in elephant ears, there are so many different varieties now. It is not like the old boring, huge leaves and only green. Now you get black, you get dark colors, you get small, you get miniature, and I have something called teacup elephant ear. So there are many, many varieties that you can add to your landscape, and this will create that tropical look. You will feel like as if you're in Hawaii or Thailand, maybe. And they are very easy to grow. So they are not perennials in our area, even though my teacup elephant ear has been there in the ground for about 10 years now. But most of this huge elephant ears they come in bulbs. Even the bulbs are huge, humongous. So one bulb is enough, and you can plant it where you need the space to be filled and create that tropical look. And ferns, I can't even tell how many varieties are there. So there are some ferns that are that are aggressive in the sense that they will spread, and that's the habit, that's the purpose of the fern, to spread. And in the woodland settings, they cling to the tree barks and grow. But there are some ferns that are very well behaved. So ask the person at the nursery what type of fern you're getting, And there are various varieties in the leaves of the ferns. You can use them as hanging because the leaves are long, the fronds, they're called the fronds. And then you can also use them as low-lying ground covers. Ferns are also very interesting. Okay, any other questions?
We have a question regarding your thoughts on, hold on, I'm so sorry, hold on. Where'd it go? Did somebody take, root beer plants.
What plants?
Root beer plants.
No idea.
I do know a little bit. I don't know a lot, but they can be considered invasive. And
Root beer.
yeah, root beer plants. They smell like sassafras when you
Okay.
grab them, and you can actually use them in wraps. But anyways, they can be considered invasive, and they also become a weed and then can actually take over all your native plants, which you
Okay.
don't want. So that's what I know about that.
Okay.
Also, let's see. Assuming blooming seasons are more contingent on high and low on temperatures than on dates, are there any reliable sources that indicate temperature preferences and tolerances?
Okay. Can you repeat that?
Yes, assuming blooming seasons are more contingent on high and low on temperatures than on dates, are there any reliable sources that indicate temperature preferences and tolerances? Would you like me to keep going?
Yeah. So, yeah, lot of websites mention this, like what do the plants need, what kind of temperature do the plants need to bloom. So they will tell you that when you're looking at the plants, that information is available wherever you're going to buy. If it is a established nursery, they will tell you all that.
And
So the
oh,
zones are general guidelines, like for example, like zone 9 is what? Um, 50 to 80 degrees maybe. So something like that. So zones are just the general guidelines for us to see what's the maximum heat tolerance and what's the lowest cold we can get to. But if you're looking at specific plants, either the website or the nursery will be able to tell you what temperature does it need to bloom. For example, if you're growing orchids, the temperature difference between day and night has to be substantial for the blooms to be triggered in orchids. So that's why uh, they force the orchids by putting them in a cooler place for the nights and bringing them back outside for the warm temperature. So that's how they induce flowering.
Another question was, are most of these plants perennials?
Yeah, except for begonias and impatiens, and most of the and coleus. So most of the plants are perennials.
Another question, someone says they heard elephant ears are invasive in Texas. Is that true?
It is tough to. I mean, I don't think they're invasive. I don't think they're invasive because I didn't see them travel from place to place. They just are big, and it is tough to dig them up because of like how big they get. Uh, that's my experience.
Sorry. I think they muted. We're good, Suma, sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. I think this Adam James has raised his hand, so I don't know if that is a mistake or.
We'll take any questions with raising hands at the end.
Okay.
if that's okay.
All right. So now that we talked about all about shade, various kinds of shade.
I'm so sorry, Suma. One very last question.
That's okay.
Will cannas flower in the shade?
Cannas, yes. I have cannas in the front yard, yes.
Okay, that's it. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. But cannas can be invasive because they multiply very quickly, and it is almost impossible to get rid of them when you want to get rid of them. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now coming to my garden, there are some plants that I tried and they do extremely well. Are agapanthus. Agapanthus is its interesting thing is it does well in full sun. It also does well in part sun. So and now you get different um, colors of agapanthus. It's not that just the blue. There is deep purple, and then there is this white, and there is also a bicolor. So it's very, very interesting. And when now they'll start blooming now and they'll bloom for several weeks. So when they are not blooming, it's a grass, it looks like grass. So the grass also looks nice. What I did in my garden is and the other thing about agapanthus is you can dig up the clump and divide it. You can chop it up into 10 pieces and plant them. So you can very easily multiply one plant into 10 plants, and I used it to border all my beds. So even when it is not blooming, it is nice as a edging plant. And of course, like in summer, the ends may look brown, and we get the problem with most of the plants because of our scorching heat. But you can cut them back a little bit and they'll be fine. And in freeze, of course, they will freeze and they'll become very mushy in our freezers. And of course, these are the first plants that you should clean up after the freeze, because most of the people will advise you don't cut back after the freeze. Let them be, because that will protect the other part of the plant if you expect another freeze. But if the plant becomes mushy, that very this thing, so then you have to remove it, because then it will create unnecessary problems. So agapanthus is one of them. Otherwise, this is a perennial plant. It will be there with you for many, many years, and one plant you can divide into many plants, and it will give you this beautiful log blooms. And these are some of the plants that I'm going to show you are not very much used, but I think they should be used more and more. And in especially in the shade gardens. So these are gingers. You get a lot of varieties of ginger. And the first one is peacock ginger, and the leaves have these dots or the spots, blotches, and then it gets light pink flower. The flowers are not much of an interest, but the leaves are. And then there are these curcuma gingers, the top and the bottom, the red and the pink, and there are various colors. And these are also, all these are perennials. They have been here for many years in my garden, and they come up with these blooms. So even when the blooms are done, look at the leaves. The leaves are so interesting. They create that nice, they fill up the garden. And the hydrangeas, these days I'm hearing a lot about hydrangeas. I moved from East Coast where hydrangeas grow crazy. They grow 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide, and they are in full bloom all the time. You don't do a thing for them, and they do so well. But here it is extremely tricky to grow hydrangeas, especially the mop head, the round, the first one, the pink one. So those are very, very difficult. So what they need that particular the Goldilocks spot in your garden. So if they find that space, they will thrive. But even then, I wouldn't go as far as saying that they will do the same thing that they would do in East Coast. They will not, because it's too hot for them here, even though you create the microclimate, unless it is in greenhouse or whatever. But we can still grow hydrangeas. So my hydrangeas are in the big pots in the front of the porch, front porch, and they are surrounded by all these plants, so they are covered. And I also gave them like specific acidic soil and fertilize them with acidic fertilizer. So they are doing fine, but I do not expect them to grow huge and big. But I expect them, I hope that they will survive for many more years. But the easiest hydrangea for us to grow in this area is the oak leaf. So this is the second one. The white one is the oak leaf hydrangea. It grows very well here. It is actually marked for zone 9. And the flowers are the long heads of the flowers, and they are always white, and they are fragrant. So when the flower blooms in the first few weeks, if you walk by it, they are so fragrant. And you can plant them in part shade, not never in full sun. Even though it is marked for zone 9, it will not do well in full sun, in our full sun. In maybe in zone 7 full sun, it will be fine. So this is, if you want to try hydrangeas, try the oak leaf. And if you are getting the other hydrangeas, try to give them that spot where it is filtered sun or shade, and also give it the kind of soil and fertilizer it needs, and then probably it'll survive and thrive. So Calathea, it's like you can see, just like the one we talked about just now. This also has interest in the leaves. So the flowers are inconspicuous. They're like tiny white flowers, but they used to sell them. They still sell them as house plants, but we can plant them outside because it's warm enough for us. In cooler climates, it is a house plant, but for us, it will grow and thrive in shady areas in the gardens, and it will come back every year. I have had it for more than 9 years now. It will multiply, but very slowly. It's not as aggressive as the other ones. So give these plants a chance, Hardy Calathea. So I can't emphasize how underutilized crinum lilies are in our area. For Rachel, if you want to note this down, there is a seller called Southern Bulbs, and they sell bulbs that thrive in the southern climates, because most of the bulbs, like daffodils or peonies or tulips, they don't do well here. Daffodils do well here, but not the tulips or other things. But this company, Southern Bulbs, they specialize in bulbs that grow extremely well for our southern climates. And the crinum lilies, there are so many varieties. They are so fragrant. They make such a big impact, and they grow very well in shady areas like part shade. So if you want something that will thrive, now they started blooming just now, and they'll bloom for several weeks. So this is something that you can try. So crinum lilies also multiply. They multiply a lot. So you can share with friends, or you can move them to other areas of your garden where you need to fill the space. And they will also look beautiful in the house. They have nice fragrance. So there's nothing not to love about them. Any questions?
A very important question.
Okay.
Are all these pictures from your garden? Because somebody said they're all very, very beautiful and very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, they are from my garden. Yes.
Gorgeous. I agree. That's all. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I had a break, and I said, these are all the plants from my garden. So these are all from my garden. And but let me tell you one thing. So when we moved here, we moved in 2010. It's been 15 years now. We had the same old green meatballs in the front yard. Those the hollies or the boxwoods, the round shaped ones, and the two oak trees, and that's it. And some other boxwoods, I think. Yeah, and ligustrum. Oh, yeah, ligustrum. So these are the things that every builder plants, and those are the things I had. And after a couple of years, I started pulling them out and replacing them. But I had to go through trial and error. First, I started with azaleas. For some reason, I have both sides of my front yard. One side has more shade because the oak tree is much larger. The other side has more sun because the tree is thinner. So I cannot plant the same things on both sides. I tried doing that, it didn't work. I tried azaleas, they didn't work. It was too sunny for them. So finally, I found the recipe for success with all these plants. So my yard looks like a mishmash of things. It's not like it's very organized, but I have various kinds of plants that have various interests, and I'm happy with it. So if you're looking for something that's very tidy, very, both sides synchronized, it will not happen in my yard because of the various like climate zones. But you can create a lot of interest just with these plants. So I just wanted to share that experience so you will not be discouraged to try new things.
Yes. And what variety of ginger with the big pink blooms at the
So
bottom?
that's called the curcuma ginger. And actually now
Can
a
you
lot
spell
of
that?
nuts.
Can you spell that? What is it?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
No, that's okay. So this is the
Oh,
CURCUMA.
curcuma. Okay.
Yeah. So there are different colors in this, mostly red and pink, and they look. If anybody is growing turmeric, or they will be familiar with this. But the turmeric will not have so many flowers. It will have only one flower. But this one is bred for flowers. So this is very easy to grow in shade.
Okay. I do one last question while we're on this subject. Is there a best time to move bulbs like, and I might not say this right, crinum, CRINUM?
Move from one place to the other.
I guess so, yes.
Yeah, no, I pull them out all the time because I have too many and I keep giving to people or like planting them elsewhere in my garden. Um, no, this anytime is fine.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. So hostas. So hostas, I had to try very hard to grow hostas here, whereas again in East Coast they would grow with abandon. They are so big and so nice, and you don't do anything, they will just grow. So here I had to find that place for them, and this is the third time is a charm. The first two times I failed. So now these three have survived, they're growing. This is the third year for them, and they are growing bigger every year. A little bigger, not as big as in the East Coast, but they are making an impact, as you can see. So there are a lot of hostas you can try. And one tip is for you to go to Houston Garden Centers in December or January, when everybody is desperate to sell plants, nobody is buying plants. They have all these plants marked down for very, very cheap price. So buy some hostas because even if you lose them, you're not losing big money. Buy some hostas and plant them, and if they survive, well and good. If not, you can try them again. Of course, you can also grow them from bulbs, from tubers. So you can also mail order them. But I like to see, and also plants will get a head start instead of bulbs. So you can try both. So this is one of my favorite flowers, and this one blooms. Somebody asked me about seasons. This one blooms in winter. This is also called tractor seat because of the leaves. The leaf looks like a tractor seat, and the leaves are huge and glossy. And even without these flowers, the plant is beautiful, and it makes a big impact. But with the flowers also have a nice fragrance, and the flowers start blooming in November, December. If there's no freeze, they'll bloom through March. So if there is freeze, of course, everything goes. But this is a winter bloomer. And after a few years, it took me 5 years, I think, they'll start giving you babies. and then you can move them to various parts of the garden. One thing I noticed is nowadays the homeowners associations are becoming better and better. So I see in our neighborhood, under the trees, they planted ligularias in big clumps, and that is so beautiful. It is very, very nice that they are doing that. So even if you don't plant anything else, if you want to plant a line of uh, ligularias, that works. It's beautiful. So this is another plant that you can add some color, but this is also tricky. Sometimes it may not come back the next year. Excuse me. But most of the times it's fine. So you can try that, the Persian shield. The purple heart is something somebody mentioned invasive. It is invasive. It grows everywhere, but it also creates that color contrast. It's purple and it grows nicely in shade, and you can plant it under the trees if you want. Instead of planting Asian jasmine, you can do this. So that will be more interesting. So these are also unusual, underutilized. Hellebore is, you can again buy the bulbs in December or in the fall, and then plant them in the fall, and they will start blooming in early spring. So they will start with flowers, and then you will see the leaves. So after the blooming is done, they are not very interesting. They are done, and you have to plant something around it so that these are covered and they'll come back next year. And the ajuga is a very beautiful ground cover, and now it's being sold by Lowe's and Home Depot and all these people. Everybody is selling ajuga. Before that, I have not seen it much here in Houston area. Again, ajuga comes in various colors. So there are dark colors, but if you since it is a ground cover, it is low to the ground. So if it is dark color, it may not be very visible on the mulch. So if you're planting it in shade, you want to pick something that is lighter color in ajuga. And this will spread slowly. In a few years, it will create a dense mat of color. This is also very unusual, toad lily. From close, you can see the spots on the lilies, and it comes in clumps of flowers. Even the leaves are interesting. Right now, my plants are nice and green and bushy, and they will start blooming in a couple of months. They'll bloom more towards the fall, and they have this nice, beautiful flowers. It is a great plant to have because it also multiplies. It spreads, and you can again dig it up and plant it in various places in your garden. So I originally had it in the backyard. I don't have any shade, so it struggled. It did not do well, and then I moved it to the front. Now it is thriving. It blooms so beautifully. I shared it with so many friends, and it's a nice plant to have for shade garden. So this is another plant that I fell in love with when I went to Mexico. In Mexico City, it is everywhere. Huge, huge blooms. They are very, very tall blooms, and the leaves are humongous, and it's so beautiful. So of course, every time I see something that is so unusual, I want to have it. I came back and looked for it, and finally, my friend shared it with me. We also have it, I think, in the demonstration gardens in Rosenberg. So this does extremely well in shade. Of course, it is. Yeah, it can take the sun, but not the full sun. So it is thriving in my front yard. I have it in two places, and it blooms. It stays. It dies and freeze. I do cover it in freeze, and it comes back, and it gives me these beautiful flowers. The flower stalk will remain for a few weeks. So that's another thing, great thing about this. And this is my pride and joy, the camellias. They are the perfect plant for this part shade. And we are in the south and we cannot grow peonies, but we can grow camellias. All these years I had camellias, but recently last year when Louisiana is the capital, camellia capital in the south, and they have the largest demonstration garden in Baton Rouge. So if you want camellias, you can buy from anywhere, of course. But if you want to make a trip, look at them in bloom, and these are winter blooming. So they start in November, they bloom until March, April. If there is a freeze, cover them slightly. Actually, I didn't cover some of the camellias. They still did extremely well. So they are evergreen. They don't lose their leaves. The leaves are glossy green. You need to find the right place for them. That shade, that filtered shade, not in full sun, they will not survive. There are two kinds of camellias, japonica and um, I blank out on the other one, but both of them do well. And there are very many colors, many combinations, and you cannot go wrong. But it is tricky until you find that spot for them. I have about 10 camellias in my front yard, various colors, various things. And I also found a fragrant camellia, which is really unusual. I had to spend a lot of money for that, but still it'll be there for many years. So this is one plant you definitely should try your hand at. And then there is the begonias. This begonia is a hardy begonia. It comes back every year, and the leaves are interesting, but it also has it is called waterfall begonia because it comes up with these long stalks of white flowers that look like waterfall. So that's why it's called waterfall begonia. And I planted the bird of paradise in under the trees. They seem to be doing okay. They don't give me that many flowers. I get a flower here and there. But the leaves are still green and it survives. So it needs more sun than where they are. It is not really a shade plant. Filtered shade is okay, but they need more sun. Alternanthera does very well. This the green plant with the pink one. It does very well in part shade. And it's just not all these blooming plants. We can also grow herbs in part shade. So right now, until now, it's fine to have herbs in full sun. But come June, July, they will suffer, especially the dill, parsley, and all, they'll suffer. So one idea is for you to have these herbs in the shade garden. So you can have them in pots and keep moving them if you feel that. So one thing to look for is if there is too much shade, they may get leggy because they are looking for the sun and they are trying to go towards the sun. So then you may want to move it more towards the sun. Otherwise, they will thrive, and you can get your herbs even in midsummer. Especially the cilantro. If anybody of you have experience growing cilantro, um, it's the season has passed. You cannot grow it in sun anymore because it will bolt. Bolting means you will see the flowers. So if you want to have the continuous supply of cilantro, maybe you want to start doing it in shade garden. You can have a small pot and start sowing cilantro seeds every few weeks, and you will get the herb to use throughout the seasons. And it's not just plants and flowers. You can also do interesting things with pots, fountains, rocks, stones, and statues in your garden. So you can, this is under the oak tree, and I changed it this week. I'll show you that picture also, but the fountain is still there. So you can add interest with various things. So this is a new, I recently, Costco has tempted me with Japanese maple trees. Since I moved from East Coast, I'm so in love with Japanese maples, and I know we cannot grow them here and it's very difficult. But I invested in this and I planted them under the oak tree, and I moved my Buddha under the Japanese maple. So in the back, you see those dainty leaves of green and red of Japanese maple. And then I moved the statue. So you can do a lot of things uh, with materials, not just with plants. So you just be creative and add some interest. So this is an area where I had problem growing anything because it's in the front of the bed and there was too much sun. No matter what I planted, it would die. So then I decided, okay, let me make a rock garden. So I made a rock garden there, and now it's fine. It looks fine. I have the ground cover. This ground cover is called chameleon, and if you look closely, the leaves have a bicolor. They turn pink as the sun, as they get more sun, they change color into pink. Otherwise, they're green. So I have this ground cover throughout my front yard. And that's it. So I'm done with my talk. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. This is the QR code. So we would be very, very grateful if you can send us your survey, because you can tell us, okay, we like this, we don't like that, we want to hear more of that, or we don't want to hear this much of this. So give us that input, give us that feedback, and that will help Rachel and all to come up with good programs for you guys. And if you have any questions now, you can unmute and ask your questions.
I have a few before we unmute.
Okay.
A question regarding camellias. How do you encourage your camellias to bush out? One of our participants has one that gets filtered light, but they're leggy and only produce a few blooms each year.
Okay, so some of the things you can do for camellias, which worked very well for me, is first of all, if they are too leggy, try to prune them and make them shorter and then give them time to grow. Also, loosen the soil around the camellia, add some pine bark, and also pine bark or pine needles or anything to do with pine. And then before the season starts, like maybe September, October, start fertilizing them. So you can fertilize with any acidic fertilizer that's made for roses and hydrangeas and camellias. You can fertilize, and then you will really get good blooms if it is happy with the light it's getting.
Regarding the bird of paradise, somebody was asking, is it the orange or white?
Orange.
It was the orange. Orange one was the bird of paradise.
Yeah.
And then shrimp plants. Have you tried shrimp plants?
Yeah. So I had a slide on shrimp plant, but I removed it because I wanted to talk about more plants that people don't know much about. Yeah, shrimp plant will do perfectly well in part shade, not full shade, but part shade. Yes.
As far as putting artificial shade using a shade cloth, is there a certain percentage that you would suggest they go from 30% to 90%?
So for herbs, if you have herbs in sun right now, definitely they will need a shade cloth. As soon as, especially in July and August, they will need a shade cloth.
And I'm sorry, I might have missed it. Did you say what percentage of shade cloth you said?
I'm not sure about the percentage, but I would provide shade for the entire bed.
Right. Okay. I've done shade cloth before, and I tried a lower one that didn't work so well, so I did go with a higher one, if that helps anybody out there. Also, other natives that you recommend that aren't common besides Turk's Cap, Beautyberry, Greg's Mist, Lantana, Salvia.
For shade? Because all the plants I talked about are perennials.
Okay,
Mostly.
and we'll have her let me see real quick. Okay, let's have, if you would like to unmute and ask a question, Maria has a question first. Maria, if you would like to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Maria
Maria.
Guido. This is my first time I had doing registering to one of your classes, so it's pretty cool. I just started. I was introduced to gardening as a form of therapy this past summer. So I had worked on one of those community gardens down in Sinton. And it was like my first experience, which was very successful as, gardening. So I was reading that you have like this program where I think I understood it right, but I was trying to find out. I don't know if you're the right person to ask. I haven't reached out to anybody except just register to the Zoom classes that are available in the next month or so.
Mhm.
But it talks about getting certified as a master garden with work volunteering with uh in this program, the AgriLife program, I guess throughout the state, right?
Yeah, well, you would be according to the county. So are you in Fort Bend County?
I'm in Comal County right now.
Okay, so if you go to that website for the Master Gardener, they'll tell you exactly what you need to do to be certified. I know for us in Fort Bend County, we start our classes in August, so they'll be starting soon. So I would recommend going there, pretty quick and then seeing what you have to do. Usually you have to fill out an application. There might be a fee, but the classes
Oh,
will be starting, at least ours start in August and go, you graduate in the next like June. So
mhm.
yeah, so
Oh,
go to
okay,
the
cool.
county website and you'll get all the information there.
Sounds cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Casey Hall, did you want to unmute and ask a specific question about the natives you were asking?
Yeah, just because I don't really have access to water easily, and half of my bed is fairly heavily shaded either from the trees in front or from the house most of the day. So most of the Texas natives are sun loving. So I'm kind of stuck with like this list of like 5 plants, some of which don't, even though they're shade loving, don't like that much shade. So I've just got bare patches. And I'm wondering if there's other natives that I've overlooked.
So I may not be able to think off the top of my head, but good sources for you would be to go to Ladybird Johnson website.
Okay.
And also we
Yeah.
have a plant selector in Earthkind Landscaping. So maybe when we send you the recording, Rachel can send you the link for that. So those are the two resources you could have to search for specific type of plants. So
Yeah.
native plants, definitely Ladybird Johnson.
Okay.
Mhm.
Regina, do you have a question about plants?
I actually typed it in the chat, but since you were having people raise their hands, I didn't know if it would be
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, that's fine. I just figured you could ask her.
Yeah, no problem. That's great. So anything about yesterday, today, and tomorrow plants?
So that is not a shade plant.
It's not a shade plant. Okay.
No, and also yeah, it's a fine plant, but also toxic for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm mentioning because that's the reason I did not get it, even though it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it needs some sun.
Okay. About how much do you know?
See, any plant, in my opinion, would appreciate afternoon shade in our area,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so hot.
Mm-hmm.
So, like morning sun is the best.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Casey? Is it Casey or Cassie? Casey, are you still here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to tell you, I put a link at the bottom or in the chat for the Texas Superstar plants. And then there's also a Native Plant Society link at the bottom that will give you shade, all the different shade loving plants for our zone or whatever zone that you put in. So those two sites are actually very, very helpful.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I've already got most of the Texas Native Plant Society ones, because like they only have a plant sale once a year, and half of them get sold out by the first hour
Right.
of the popular stuff,
Yeah.
and most of them are almost impossible to find otherwise.
Well,
So
also,
there are two
just a
nurseries in the
side
Heights
note,
area.
just a side note, if you go to like Callaway's or Enchanted Gardens, they often have tables too with native plants.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay.
There
Anybody
are,
else who wants to ask a question, you can unmute, and we have a few more minutes left. So go ahead and ask a question.
This is Kathy Weiss, and I was just wondering if the recordings from previous months are available to watch on your landscaping with success.
Yes.
Okay,
Actually, if you go to YouTube
yes,
and type in Fort Bend County Master Gardeners, you'll see all the different, you'll be able to go to the channels, but you'll also see the various recordings from all
Okay.
past years. It's
Okay.
a great, that's what I did even before I did the Master Gardener program, and I learned so much. And that's why I'm a fangirl of Suma, because I watched all her old all her old ones. She's amazing.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Other questions?
You're going to send the QR code in the email as well as as having it here,
Yes.
right?
we will.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will
Okay.
also come in the email. The presentation will not be in the email, but the link to the recording, the link for the survey, and any links that anybody has asked about and that we've put in the chat will also be copied and put into the email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Suma, for sharing all your expertise with us. And I hope you have a good weekend. And thank you, everybody, for attending. There's also a link in the chat that will take you to the rest of the landscape success classes that we have going on for the rest of this year. And we will be adding new classes for next year. We're very excited about our plans for next year. So check out that link. Also, if you have any questions, you can always call our hotline, and there are master gardeners there who will answer your questions, any question that you have. And that is also listed in the chat. So thank you, everybody, for attending, and have a great
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you.
You can stop the recording, Nancy.